Hello and welcome back to Diabetes in the Family on HealthBeat Radio, being brought to you by Lucy Radio Network. And our guest today is Jacquie Lewis-Kemp, who is a public speaker as well as the author of Blessed Assurance, Success Despite the Odds. Welcome, Jacquie, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
We are going to start, like I normally do, with, I want to get your history so that the people understand why I wanted you on here, because I think your story is absolutely amazing, and you're a true testament to the fact that because of an illness or a disease or diabetes, it in no way, shape, or form has to limit your dreams. And you are a perfect example of that. So I'm going to kind of give you the floor. And if you would just tell our listeners what type of diabetes you have and everything you've accomplished in spite of the diabetes. And then there's a couple points that I want to emphasize, but I'll pop in every now and then. So I'll give you the floor, and if you could just first start with, what type of diabetes you have and when you were diagnosed and how you were diagnosed.
Sure. I have had type 1 diabetes since I was diagnosed at the age of 7. So I've grown up and lived with diabetes for more than 40 years. I guess that tells my age.
Again, welcome to my world.
But it has, I believe that growing up with diabetes has really kind of taught me to live in spite of that diabetes, or this is what I have to do, but now I have to live as well. And what I mean by that is I grew up taking insulin as a 7-year-old, and at 7, I thought everybody did.
Exactly.
What you do in the morning?
Yeah.
You get up and you take a shot. And so it became just my own norm. At 7 years old, I didn't have a routine. That is what my routine became.
Right.
And I grew up and excelled in high school, and I went to college and actually got a double major bachelor's degree and a master's degree, but I finished in 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that, and it didn't seem like a big deal while I was going through it, but when I started writing the book and thinking about what that took, I really believe that because I learned to kind of compartmentalize the things I had to do because of diabetes, it seemed like the normal thing to do. You do it at the pace you're used to working at.
Right. Well, and you said, too, that was pretty much all you had known. And to you, that was normal. It
Right.
was nothing that was exemplary or above what everybody else was doing.
Correct.
But little did you know that it was so much beyond what most people do. But that's beside the point.
Right. And now I even have to caution myself to not think people are lazy. They're not working fast like me.
Right. Now, you had, and we had talked about this before, you had a kidney transplant. At what age did you have your kidney transplant?
I had the kidney transplant when I was 37.
Okay. Now what?
37, 38.
Okay. Now was that due to damage from the diabetes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One of the long-term complications of diabetes. If I can go back a little bit.
Yes.
After I graduated from college, I went to work for my dad, and he had an automotive supplier manufacturing company here in the Detroit area, and I worked for him, and he died very young at 52 of a heart attack.
Oh my gosh.
And I was working for him at the time, and I stepped in to become CEO when he died. So then I was diabetic, married with an elementary school-age kid, and fortunately, after he died, then my kidneys failed.
Oh my gosh. On top of everything else that you were doing.
Exactly. That's when things began to get a little tight for me. It's a good thing I had been working at that pace because I was then prepared to start dialysis. incorporate yet one more system in my daily routine.
Oh, my gosh. Now, you did your dialysis differently than most people. Most people go to the dialysis site and have everything done right there. You chose not to do that, though.
Correct.
How did you want to let them know how you did that?
Yeah, I did peritoneal dialysis, which is you do it at home. You don't go to a center, and it's not quite as invasive as hemodialysis, which is taking all of your blood out, cleaning it, and putting it back into your body. This, it uses the peritoneum as that sac inside your abdomen that holds all the organs together. And it's really using that sac as the kidney, filtering the junk out of the blood, if you will.
Right.
Pardon all my medical That's the way I'm able to think about it.
Plus, that makes it easier for the listeners, too, because, these doctors come in with all these medical terms, and you go, what?
Right.
So, no, you're perfect.
So all the little capillaries in the bloodstream, touch the peritoneum, so you're filtering out the junk in your blood. So the fluid goes into your abdomen through a little tube in the stomach, and you let it sit, and then it pulls all of that out of the bloodstream, or most of it.
Right.
Then you empty it. Not as efficient as the kidneys, but it works pretty well.
Right. Now, we had talked about this earlier, too, and what was your reasoning for doing the peritoneal rather than the traditional, for lack of a better phrase, traditional dialysis?
Well, I was running a business. I had a kid in 6th grade and a husband. To spend 3 or 4 hours, 3 days a week at a center was just not possible for my life at that point.
Right. Now, did anyone else know that you were doing this in your workplace?
No. I had to keep all of this a secret because I was running a business that's highly competitive.
Right.
There are lots of businesses doing the same. I couldn't tell my competitors that I had a life-threatening illness. They would try to steal my business. I couldn't tell my customers. They would for sure move my contract.
Exactly.
I couldn't tell my employees. They might jump ship.
Exactly. And isn't that sad, looking back at it now, that it was basically, or it probably felt like you were doing this all alone?
It did. My immediate family knew what was going on, but it was tough to keep secret because I also had to keep a secret from extended family and friends because, we're only 6 removed, they say. So you don't know who knows who and how things can get out.
Exactly. And without even intention. Just speaking and they're talking and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, and then your secret's open.
Exactly. And there, quite honestly, there was some of that. But it was held to a minimum.
Good. Now, you also, not only did you have a kidney transplant, then you went on to have another transplant, correct?
Yes, I have a pancreas transplant. My transplant team at the University of Michigan, their full plan of action was to not just give me a new kidney so I could live, but stop the reason that caused my kidney failure, which was the elevated blood sugars. So if they could control my blood sugars, then my kidney would last longer. Because with diabetes, we can live if we're taking insulin injections.
Exactly.
You have to have at least one kidney to live.
Right.
So the kidney was the primary life sustainer. My pancreas is really just supporting my kidney's life.
Right.
Now, what a wonderful benefit. I no longer have to take insulin injections. But it's just that, a benefit.
Yeah. And you don't hear of that very often, a pancreatic transplant. I mean, that's rare.
No, at the time I had mine in 2000, the University of Michigan was the only transplant center in the state of Michigan that did them. There are other hospitals now that do pancreas transplants, but and there are certainly others around the country that do them. But no, they aren't as widely done. And in fact, you would think they do the two together.
Right.
Oftentimes, the kidney is the most difficult to receive because of the shortage of kidneys available to be transplanted. So as soon as you can get a kidney, you need to hurry up and do that.
Right.
And the pancreas can come later. And that's what happened with me. My brother donated a kidney.
God bless him.
Yes, God bless him. That is the most important thing, because the sicker you are when you undergo transplant surgery, the more difficult, and your chances of success to go down when you're sicker.
Now, even though you've had the transplant, you no longer take insulin, you still consider yourself a diabetic, though.
I do. I lived for 32 years insulin dependent.
Right.
And with my blood sugar at elevated levels. So my entire body has been exposed to high blood sugars. And so I have a diabetic body.
Right.
My eyes, my nerve endings. I still have some other diabetic complications. Now, the progression of them has stopped when I got the pancreas transplant, but it did not reverse.
Right, right. And that's what people need to understand, that unfortunately, and nothing against, or I'm not taking anything away from like cancer patients who go into remission with diabetes, you don't go into remission. And like you said, it doesn't reverse. Once you're a diabetic, you're always a diabetic. And I think that's one of the things that I find so amazing about you is you, above so many others who, you know, okay, I've lost the weight, my sugars are normal, I'm no longer diabetes, I'm cured. You actually, in a sense, have been cured, but still consider yourself diabetic. And I think that's admirable above. So I think that's wonderful that you send that message out.
Yeah, I just finished my workout this morning, as a matter of fact.
Good for you. Now, do you still test your sugars, your numbers?
I do.
Do you?
About monthly, not nearly as often as I did when I was, insulin dependent.
Right.
But I do at least monthly check them. And I'm seen by my transplant team once a year. Or actually twice a year, because they like me, no.
Well, that is not even hard to understand.
Because I haven't found another nephrologist to follow me in between the 1-year visit, so they said, well, come on.
Okay, if we have to. Good for you. Now, and probably this was more so when you first no longer had to take the insulin, but did it feel kind of strange not having to? Because like you said, you were 7 years old. This is all you've known. Was it like a lot to get used to?
That is a very good question, because it was amazingly difficult to get used to. And people look at me like I'm crazy when I explain it, because all of a sudden I have been used to all of my life being in control of what my blood sugar is.
Yeah.
And, whether it's high or low, I can affect it.
Yeah. And giving yourself a shot.
Yes. All of a sudden, I cannot tell my blood sugar what to do.
I know. It's like, whoa. And like you said, a little bit of control was just taken away.
Yeah.
In a good way, but still
getting used to.
Yeah.
I would, and what we as diabetics don't realize is that we are so much more attuned with our bodies than most people.
Because you have to be.
Yes, and I had no idea of that until I had the pancreas transplant, because I would eat and I could feel my blood sugar going up. And then within the next half hour or so, I would feel it going down.
Yep.
And that was so bizarre. I didn't do anything to make it happen.
It's like, whoa, this is kind of nice.
Yeah. It was kind of nice, but it was weird that it was happening.
It's like I wasn't making this happen.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of testing